A sight for sore eyes here is Adam Hertel, the Senior Vice President of Grocery and Alternative Channels for Ecommerce North America. How are you, Adam?
Doing great, Ray. Happy to be here as always. Thanks.
Congratulations on the promotion.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, fairly recent news.
So it was interesting when I saw that, when you told me about that, you were talking about, I had known that you were in grocery. You used to be the Vice President of Natural and Grocery. And now it's Grocery and Alternative Channels. And I asked you, what do the alternative channels mean? Where is your focus nowadays? And you talked about food service. You talked about, online sales. So, let's get to that in a minute, actually, because I want to talk about Matcha Love Organic, the RTD lineup that you came out with last year. You guys recently did a label revamp, and also added a colada product, which is in the coolers here and tastes delicious. So, take us through the process of the revamp. What did you feel like you needed to change to better communicate the product and its attributes to consumers?
Mm-hmm. So the rebranding or refreshing of the Matcha Love label and package was really a result, I think, for us of wanting to sharpen the whole image of the brand. Now that we were off the Whole Foods exclusive, initially when we launched the 500 milliliter PET line of the 3 Matcha Love organic SKUs, it was for that national Whole Foods exclusive launch back in 2015. We really had a sprint to get that label and that creative ready to go out of the gates to make the time frame for Whole Foods. I think we did a pretty good job of that with all things considered. Now we had the time to really go back, freshen it up, sharpen the whole branding. We wanted it to really pop off the shelf, be a lot more vibrant as far as conveying the matcha. This is a matcha forward product line. It's not just green tea. So we're incorporating more of that bright hues of the green and calling out some of the more, I'd say, iconic matcha call-outs on the side panel, and that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, obviously BevNet liked the line, and like the pad to like some of the packaging as well, because it was the best tea of BevNet's Best of 2015, and it's a great product. But the new branding does look really good.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
So the colada product is you guys debuted that at Expo West earlier this year. Can you take us through what the idea behind it and the response at this point?
Absolutely. So the colada's really just launched pretty much as of June 1st. We wanted it to hit in time for the summer, so we just made that with really a Memorial Day launch. It's been very positive overall. I think we saw some pretty strong early responses at Expo West and Anaheim, but again, you never really want to get too confident until it's in the marketplace. So we use our local New York DSD here in the boroughs to really take kind of a weather balloon and see how that initial feedback is from the consumer. So far, it's been very strong. We're seeing great reorders, great initial movement on the early DSD trial the last 2-3 weeks here in the city. So very encouraged. I think the colada in general seems to be hitting an awareness point with consumers, kind of this convergence of a couple different trends that have been pretty big. Obviously, coconut water, which everyone's very aware of at this point, and then matcha becoming a lot more mainstream and just having some playful fun with incorporating these two things, combining them together with cold brew green tea, and then adding a little bit of pineapple flavoring as well. So far, been really positive and really happy to kind of, I think, extend that Matcha Love line into something that's a little bit different and, again, a little bit more playful, capitalizing on a few trends.
Yeah, I was sipping on some of the matcha colada yesterday. I don't know if anyone saw it in the live stream, and it's really good. It's really refreshing. It's almost, to me, it's like it's one of those beverages where it checks off a lot of boxes. It's refreshing, it tastes good, and it's got some functional benefits, but I won't put you on the spot about the functional benefits. We have lawyers around. They could.
We don't claim any of those.
Good, yeah. Good. All right, so let's talk about your role in supporting Ecommerce's distribution and alternative channels in food service. You and I have talked just sort of off the cuff about some of the huge demand for natural and healthy beverages by food service operators. How has that grown and why?
Yeah, it's been really something that I think I don't want to say fell into, but it's been something that we've really been responding to and trying to keep pace with the last few years. I think it's a logical progression and extension of what's happened in the natural retail space. Food service has really exploded for us and a lot of other brands that I think are probably here at the show. So UNFI, to their credit, has done a very good job of capturing that space. They've had the portfolio of brands like Ecommerce, that a lot of the broadline food service distributors simply haven't had the last few years. So they kind of pushed us into that space, I would say, and now we're looking at watching that extend into other broadliners. The secret is now out that food service is a big channel, and certainly it's extending beyond just the colleges and universities, some of the .com tech accounts, and the office coffee service vendors where we saw the initial progress, and now it's happening, I think, more mainstream, and we're seeing a lot of interest. I know you have a food service discussion this afternoon, so it's a rapidly evolving channel for us, and we're really excited about it.
It's a rapidly evolving channel. Now, are these food service operators, are they adding brands? So are they adding an Eat Wen and taking away like another tea brand, or is it sort of incremental? Is it expanding their portfolio?
I think right now it's primarily incremental. I think they're trying to figure out, as they see a need and the demand from their customer base for these healthier products, how do they go to market with that? How do they, as far as share of stomach, look at collapsing some of the space from the more mainstream, traditional commodity type products that they've always had, and where do we fit in there? So right now, I don't see them actively discoing or getting rid of the more traditional products, but really looking at incrementally. They know they have to be on trend with this stuff. They're figuring out how do you actually execute that, and I think convincing their own sales teams and their own organizations and cultures to really evolve and change around that message right now.
And it's driven by consumer demand. I mean, people are just looking for healthier, organic options, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think especially with the young people, I mean, we keep talking about millennials over and over again, but certainly the colleges, the .com tech accounts in Northern California primarily have started a lot of this with the free lunch programs, the micro markets. Now it's expanding into a lot of other tech centers. We're seeing it happening in Austin. We're seeing it happening in the Northeast. So the word is certainly spreading, as a lot of these accounts are also having satellite offices that are growing into more emerging markets for tech. It just continues to spiral, and now we're seeing it in New York here with some of the financial services and fashion headquarters and other, I guess, vertical markets beyond just tech. So yeah, I think employees are demanding it, and especially as the economy's improved and employers want to compete for that kind of employee retention and satisfaction, it's becoming an important asset.
Now, the other side of the alternative channel equation is online. And we had a judge yesterday at the New Beverage Showdown say, I really don't like to mess with online because beverages are heavy, it's liquid, things can go wrong. But every day you hear about more and more beverages being sold online. What's Eat Wen's take on that?
Yeah, we're really of the attitude right now that to avoid online and e-commerce is really counterproductive. I think you're walking away from millions of dollars in business annually. Certainly for us, that would be the case. So we've had a lot of success with the typical e-commerce online players, and now you're seeing a lot of these new guys that are coming up that are also adding a ton of value, regionally and quickly becoming national and mainstreaming with adding additional warehouses and scaling up very quickly with a lot of capital behind them. The Thrive markets in LA, the folks that are out here like Boxed and Jet. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And so when we talk about kind of alternative channels and what that means beyond grocery, it's e-commerce and it is food service. And for us, both those channels are just rapidly expanding. There's certainly some risks associated with that. You have to look at kind of the bricks and mortar versus the online e-commerce scaling in terms of is it taking away from what you're seeing in bricks and mortar. Right now, we're not seeing that. I think it's complementing it. And you're also seeing some good marketing dividends that come away from it that also help you at the actual store retail touch points.
Now, are you outsourcing operations for your e-commerce business, or are you doing it in-house?
So no, a lot of it we're doing. We have our own online web sales for a lot of our loose leaf business. We also sell direct with our own online shop. But then we're doing a lot of it where we're just selling, outsourcing to e-commerce websites as well. So kind of a twofold approach.
One of the other interesting things about what you're doing, I mean, you're all matcha encompassing, and so culinary matcha has also become like a big or a growth business for you guys as well. How are you marketing it, and why are people really getting involved, or why are consumers starting to demand that kind of a product?
It's amazing. Culinary matcha for us, the way we're packaging it in kind of this almost baking soda tin culinary format has really been a surprise, I think, to most of us. We're keeping scale with it as quickly as we can. Matcha sourcing right now and out of Japan is an issue, and we're obviously taking up more and more of that supply. But on the non-RTD side, with our ceremonial matcha tins and our culinary matcha, we're seeing a huge demand from retail, and the way it's becoming more mainstream across the U.S., including in the center of the country, which you wouldn't historically think of as being matcha geography. Right. We're actually hearing a lot of feedback from retailers that the baking sets are kind of historically in decline right now. People aren't baking as much. So functional baking ingredients, things like matcha, chia, flax are really on trend, and we're getting a lot of approvals on that item. And it's been a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. I need to start baking with matcha pretty soon. I think I'm going to start doing that, actually.
I could see that. Send me some recipes.
Outstanding. Right. Adam, great seeing you. Thanks so much for being a part of this. Really appreciate it.